Okay, the engine is now asleep for the winter. To recap what we've done, we put Stabil in the gas tank, ran it till it reached its operating temperature, and then basically took the little antifreeze with our homemade little delivery device with a funnel, a hose, and earmuffs. Ran that through the engine completely, so that until I saw pink coming out of the engine. So now, and also then I took and I fogged the engine, and basically what you did is you start it up and let it idle, and then you spray that fogging oil down there. It's like a foam, and it foams up all over the place, and the engine starts going blah, 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 blah. And then finally you just shut it down. So now what we need to do is we need to start actually taking things apart and inspecting. You always want to inspect your engine completely after every season. You should do it in the middle of the season too, but check for any leaks or any wear or tear or anything like that, and also take the outdrive off. I removed the outdrive and I put it on my little homemade outdrive stand, which you'll see here in a sec. So that way the bellows, which is right over here, and I'm sorry for the wind, but we got a real strong north wind. When you store these things, the bellows is actually in a bent position, and it can build a memory. And if you do not let it rest for a while, which is the perfect time is during the winter, and it's so easy. You got to take the outdrive off anyway when you do it in the spring to change everything, grease up the U-joints and all that kind of stuff. So you might as well just do it now and store it inside somewhere. So what I do is I just take it off. It also prevents somebody from stealing it. But that way it's in out of the elements, and then I take, because there's a hole in the back of the boat, take some plastic and shove it in there. Speaking of plastic, I also wrap the engine in plastic. Whenever it's all done, I just take some trash bags and wrap it around it. Just in case water or anything gets in here during the winter, it doesn't go down inside the engine and cause rust and corrosion. Now also the next thing to do is we're going to take every single spark plug out and spray a little bit of the fogging oil down in there, and then we're going to drain the engine, which I'll show you here in a bit. Here's another question I see a lot asked from time to time in forums and stuff like that, and questions to me when I was rebuilding this boat is, how do you get an outdrive off? Seems to be kind of the big question. It's actually as simple as basically 8 bolts. You've got your trim cylinders right here. This is a 9/16 inch bolt, and what it has is it goes all the way through from side to side. So you get two 9/16 inch nuts on either side that need to come off, and then that allows your trim cylinder rams to come off. And then you have 6 5/8 inch nuts on this side and that side, and that's about it. You just yank. Now I usually give it a few taps with my trusty rubber mallet just to make sure it kind of comes loose. You can use a dead blow hammer, but I've seen dead blow hammers leave a little bit of markings. With a rubber mallet with a towel wrapped around it, just gives you that little oomph to get the sucker off, and then you just pull it off. So a lot of people say that you need 2 people to do this, but I do it all the time by myself. It's not terrible. The Bravos I can imagine being very heavy, but these little Alphas are not bad at all. So anyway, I'm fixing to take those off and use my little air ratchet right there and get this thing off, and then I'm going to raise the nose up in the air and show you how to drain an engine. Okay, the outdrive is off. It does take a little bit of brute force to carry it and over. It is not light at all, but I tell you, you can tell when you've got your engine aligned correctly whenever you just take the bolts off, and it literally just falls apart. Didn't even have to use a rubber mallet. It was just that easy. Now's the time to inspect your U-joints, to go through and make sure that everything is top notch. And you can see that everything is really good. I've got a broken O-ring right there though. You see that? So that means, and you should always replace those O-rings every season anyway. I keep, let me see here. I don't know where I put them. Oh, they're up here. I've got another set up there. I usually buy them 2 or 3 at a time. And it's basically the gasket that goes around the outside of the bell housing that mates up to here. It's actually this gasket right here. So, and it comes with two new O-rings. So yeah, you should replace those every season. So, but you can see that the grease is still nice and blue. There's no weird stuff going on the splines here. There's no rounding. That's another big thing you need to make sure of, is putting spline grease on here to keep the coupler and the engine happy. So everything looks good on this side, and then you want to go over here to the bell housing side and inspect it also. Make sure that your bellows doesn't have any holes in it. It's not holding any water. You know, all the obvious signs. And this is another little gasket that comes out, which is right here. I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it in there so I remember to take it out in the springtime. Here's the water inlet gasket. You just want to inspect everything and make sure that it's 100%. And I replaced the bellows this year, so it's new and we don't have any issues. So you can see how it actually was kind of sitting at an upward angle. So that means that that bellows is kind of developing a memory. So you want to store this boat with this down. You also want to make sure all your water's out. You see it still coming out of there. So now we move on to the inside of the boat to get rid of all the water on the inside. Okay, so I jacked the front of the bow up in the air to provide the drain for this this engine, so whenever I do what I'm fixing to do, the water runs out the back. Okay, now it's kind of hard to see, but down under each manifold, I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me see here. Where are you? Right there. That's the drain petcock. There's one on either side. We need to open those up and drain this block of water and get rid of all of it. Same thing with the little petcock right here. You need to take those out and drain the manifolds and let it completely drain. Now I'm also going to take off the hoses on the bottom side, let all the water run out, and I'm also going to do it on the side over here of the where the power steering cooler is, just to get every bit of water out of here. So that's what I'm going to do now, and see how much water comes out. Make sure it's all pink, and we've got good protection on the inside. All right, well, it's nice and pink. You can see how much water, and it's been running for a good 15 or 20 seconds, how much water is actually in these blocks. And it's nice and pink, so that means we got a good amount of that antifreeze inside the block, and we just need to continue draining it, make sure it's absolutely as bone dry as we possibly can. Let me show you just how much water these manifolds carry in them. It's pretty amazing. Ooh, look at that. Now you also want to take a coat hanger or a small wire, a welding rod, and probe those holes. Now this is a brand new engine, so I haven't noticed any blockage. I mean, that water is coming out of there hardcore, so I know that I've got plenty of I guess hole size to be able to get all the water out. Sometimes what happens is the rust builds up inside these manifolds in the engine, and the flakes get down there and block up the holes. So see, look at that. That's a lot of water. That's a lot of water. Alright, so right at 2 hours it took me to completely winterize the boat, and everything is done. I got all the spark plugs out, squirted a little fogging oil down in there. I inspected all the spark plugs. Now what I'll do is when the spring comes around, I'm actually going to replace the spark plugs, you know, change the oil, you know, all that kind of good stuff. I'm just trying to put it to sleep for the winter to keep it from freezing to death. And I'm also going to switch over to a Petronix electronic ignition when it comes springtime. So it's asleep, it's dormant for the time being until we de-winterize it. And I'll also flip the seats up so that way they don't trap any moisture, and basically take everything out that, like your battery, you want to take your battery out of there, you don't want to leave that in there. Any tools or anything like that, just take it out so that way it's nothing that could actually trap some moisture underneath it. So, but that's kind of in a nutshell how you winterize a boat. You might want to notice that, leave the petcocks open. Do not shut those things. You want to make sure that if any water or anything needs to run out, it can run out. Leave the holes open there, and then I left the water passages open up here so that way it can breathe and evaporate the water that might be left in there. So that's it. That's how you winterize a boat.